All right, you guys, what's going on, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna be taking out the BRZ as doing like our first driving video since we turbocharged the car. I've been waiting to make this one for a little while. As you guys know, we've been working out some issues in the tune, but for the most part, the tune's pretty much 95% worked out. The car did throw a cell on the way up here. I cleared it out. It was just for the throttle position sensor and the accelerator pedal not correlating properly, but we were already aware of this because we had to adjust that to kind of trick the idle since we're having that weird idle issue right now. But it may have like recalibrated itself, so the car might be good. But before we go take out the car, I do want to go over the modifications that are done to it, so that way you guys are fully aware of everything done to the car, so that way there's no miscommunication or questions asked. You guys know what I meant. If you guys have questions, you're more than welcome to ask. But as you guys are aware, this is my 2013 BRZ. We picked it up back in February as just a daily driver, and well, as you can see, it's gotten a little bit past that point, but the car is still definitely a daily driver. Exterior wise, you guys know we haven't done much to the car. Came with the lip. Mainly everything we've done has been performance orientated with this thing. So as you guys are aware, we have a Precision 4831 turbo in here with the MA Performance turbo setup, Turbo Smart blow-off valve, Turbo Smart Comp 40mm external wastegate. We did change the clutch in this car prior to turbocharging it just to make sure that the extra power wasn't going to fry the clutch, especially after that happening with the STI. So we did try to make sure to avoid that with this car. Right now the car is tuned on 8 pounds, so it makes around 282 wheel horsepower and about 230 foot-pounds of torque. More than enough for this little guy, I promise. We also have the MA Performance oil cooler, and this is also the MA Performance turbo setup or turbo kit on the car, as you guys have been aware as well. Suspension wise, we have the Fortunato 500 coilovers on here, STI rear sway bar, STI rear end links, a couple other STI goodies out in the rear of the suspension. The front really hasn't been touched too much. We do have some Fortunato end links up here with our coilovers, but that's about the extent of what we've done to the car. Everything that we've pretty much put on this car has been performance oriented. We have a lot more of the drivetrain stuff put in there, smaller things, a lot more smaller engine stuff. So before we go drive it, I put up a poll on Instagram, this one, and if you guys aren't following the Instagram, go follow it, because I put a lot of information on the Instagram page before it comes to YouTube. But 83% of you guys said that you'd rather drive the STI on its old setup rather than drive this car, and I'm gonna show you guys why this car is so much fun. So let's hop in it, let's actually go drive it, let's go play with this thing. All right, my friends, welcome to Turbo BRZ Cam. I need to turn off traction control. Park her right here for a minute. All right, now we're good. Let's go drive. So let's talk about why I love the Turbo BRZ so much. Why does it sound like I popped like an intercooler pipe? I didn't. The blow-off valve was just a lot louder with the radio off. All right, that's cool. That's cool. I'm totally down for that. I like that. I like that. So, 2013 BRZ Precision 4831 Turbo. I absolutely love this thing. I love it a lot more than when the STI originally got tuned. I love the two cars for two entirely different reasons though. The STI it's not as in your face as the BRZ. Like the BRZ with a turbo on it is a car that is just in your face and you love it. Some of the complaints people had about these cars when they first came out is that they just didn't have enough power, and I understand. After doing this, I totally understand why they underpowered the car from the factory. If Subaru or Toyota, or at the time Scion, would have thrown a turbo on this car and sold it to consumers as is, no one would buy the WRX or the STI unless they wanted a car specifically to be bigger. But if they wanted a car to be able to tune, modify, play with, this is the clear winner. It's so much fun. This car does not put not put a smile on your face. Like when you're driving this thing, all you can do is smile. Now, power numbers, like we talked about earlier, the car only makes 282 wheel horsepower, 230 foot-pounds of torque. The car doesn't weigh a lot, so it really delivers that power nicely. The 4831 on the car right now, it's not a ball bearing turbo. When I bought the kit, I ended up buying the journal bearing just because it was cheaper and it was a little more in my budget when I bought it. I still have no regrets about buying the journal bearing over the ball bearing. The turbo does exactly what I need it to, and we're only on 8 PSI. The turbo can the engine can handle like 8 to 11 PSI pretty okay-ish. And if you were to turn it up, like for us at least, if we turn the boost up a little bit up to like 10 or 11 PSI, we'd probably be making around, I don't know, 320 to 330 wheel horsepower maybe. Probably about 250 foot-pounds of torque. So for the tires, because we didn't really talk about the tires or the wheels on the car when we first went over everything, the car is on Anki NT03 plus M's. The wheels are 18 by 9.5 plus 40 if anyone's curious. The tires are 255/40 in the rear and 235/40 in the front. Even with the 255s in the rear, the car still breaks traction pretty easy in the dry. If I like actually want to, I can do it. I would like a little bit more grip out of the car. These are, God, what are these? Bridgestone Potenza RE760 Sports. They're pretty good tires. They're the tires that I generally run on my cars for summer tires. I pulled these off of the STI because they were still solid tires way back when we swapped tires on the STI. But even with the 255s, 282 wheel horsepower, it still breaks traction, which I'm totally down with. For those of you that are curious, does the car get sideways? It does 100% get sideways. I have played with it a little bit in a safe setting, of course. But we're gonna loop up here on the freeway because I do want to show you guys this car on the freeway. It is a little, I don't want to call it a sleeper because it has a giant intercooler in the front of the car that you can see, but from like behind the car and the side profile of the car, it really does look like a sleeper. There's not much done aesthetically to the car, so let's go jump on the freeway. Let's go play with the car a little bit. Let's hear that wastegate open back up. We'll let these guys kind of get in front of us a little bit so that way we can really hammer on it. Like on-ramps are the one spot that you can actually like kind of speed. Up quick for 8 pounds of boost. 8 pounds of boost, man. This thing gets it. I love it. I absolutely love it. The blow-off valve noises, everything. The drivetrain is pretty noisy. I have swapped pretty much all of the mounts in the drivetrain at this point just to be able to compensate for the power that I wanted to get out of the car, and well, it is definitely responding nicely. As for reliability, a lot of you guys have been asking me about the reliability of this motor boosted. I love it. It definitely does sketch me out a little bit because these FA20s and the BRZs, FRSs, and 86s, they are about a 12-to-1 compression ratio. It's a pretty high compression ratio for throwing a turbo on there, especially around 8 to 11 PSI, which people typically run on the stock motor. But the engines have been known to hold around 350 wheel horsepower from what I've seen, what other people have seen. So hopefully the motor holds up to whatever we throw at it under 350 wheel horsepower. The transmission is really the weaker point of the car. So the transmissions don't like to hold power that well. And if they, ooh, that was bumpy. And if they are holding power, maybe you got a special trans in that case, because I'm really hoping that this one holds our power because we're not making that much. If the trans does decide to go on this car at any point, my game plan for it is to just swap the gear set out, strengthen up the casing of the transmission any way that we can, throw it back in the car and go from there, because I don't want to be swapping transmissions left and right in this car if it is having issues. God, dude, that blow-off valve noise, just listen. I love it. I get a little bit of compressor surge also. It's such a beautiful sound. It is such a beautiful sound, and it's so hard to describe. Like, I always knocked on turbocharged BRZs before having one. I always thought like 282 wheel horsepower, it's not that much. If you think about it, the STI had another like 120 horsepower and like another 150 foot-pounds of torque. I don't care. This thing is fun. I love it. I absolutely love it. It just puts a smile on my face every single time. Pretty sure the car shoots fire too, so if you guys hear a backfire or pop back there, well, that's water on the road. That's the one thing that sketches me out about rear wheel drive is I don't want my tires to instantaneously cool off, because we're gonna lose grip real quick, boys and girls. Real fucking quick. We don't want that. It's literally the last thing we want. God, the blow-off valve, I love it. I absolutely love it. Coming over. So as for the fueling system in the car, because we didn't really touch on that too much, and I did some of the fueling upgrades off camera. In the fuel tank, we're running a DW65C. It's not a big fuel pump. I think it flows at 265 liters per hour. As for injectors, we are running the Fuel Injector Clinic FIC 660 injectors. Not a huge injector, but it is a pretty big injector on this car in comparison to what other people run. Typically on supercharged applications and other turbocharged applications, from what I've seen, tend to run smaller injectors or closer to the factory size. I love this thing. I absolutely love it. This thing boogies. It gets down. Whoa, bud, what the fuck are you doing? It's just that sound every single time. There's something. It gets like the inner 12-year-old in me, and I just absolutely love it. Something that some people do have concerns about when it comes to like maybe turbocharging or doing any type of forced induction on this chassis is that it ruins the character of the car. I completely disagree with that statement. If I wanted to just stay in vacuum, drive the car normally, I can. Even when I'm in boost, the car handles phenomenally well. It doesn't take away from the fact that the car is so nimble, so light and responsive. Throw a turbo on it. If you have one, throw a turbo, throw a supercharger. So let's go hop back on the freeway, play with the car a little bit more. We'll head up to the house and close this thing out. But honestly, I love this car. Now that I loved it before the forced induction, but even now that it has a turbo on it, it just makes it that much better. It literally makes it just that much better. I love it. I don't know how many times I've said I love it in this video, but I hope I got the point across. I do think it's important to note with the turbo BRZ build, this is the first time I have ever turbocharged a naturally aspirated car. And let me tell you, it definitely has its challenges and is not always the easiest thing to do, but damn it, is it fun. Oh, if you guys have made it this far into the video, also, version 2 drive merchandise drops in 1 hour or like 3 hours when this video goes live. Video goes live at 9 a.m. New merch drops at noon, limited quantities. They tend to sell out pretty quick, so if you want something, grab it. And I always appreciate the support, you guys. I like to hand pack and ship your guys' orders. I always like to write you guys little notes on them as well, but back to the driving. I do think that it's important to note that if you do want to turbocharge your BRZ FRS GT86, whatever application you're going to be turbocharging, swap your brakes out. Don't do this on stock brakes. Your stock brakes are not going to be happy. I get on the brakes pretty hard when I'm driving this car. I've got the StopTech slotted rotors, sport ceramic pads on the car also. These are the Hawk sport ceramic pads. They're not the StopTech. I don't know actually. They might be StopTech. They might be Hawk. I don't remember at this point, but make sure you're swapping over brakes. At some point, I want to swap the calipers over to some AP Racing or Willwood. Even a set of OEM Brembos would be nice. Anything that'll give us a little bit better braking feel and last a little bit longer, because I do plan on like fully tracking this car. Alright, with that, let's head back up to the house. We'll end this video before I get in trouble because I'm having too much fun with this car. Alright, you guys, back up at the house now. I hope that helps illustrate why I love driving this thing so much and why I think this is so much more fun than the STI is. Well, the STI was, since it doesn't have a motor. I fully love the STI. Would never get rid of that car. This is just, it's an entirely different type of fun, and unless you've driven one, you don't really... If you ever get the opportunity to drive a turbocharged BRZ, do it, because I promise you, you won't be let down. It's a whole like biscuit. It's a whole biscuit of fun. But that's all I got for you guys on this one. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the POV kind of driving stuff like we do. And if you guys got any questions, you know what to do. Go ahead, drop them in the comments. I'll jump into them and answer whatever you guys got. But with that, if you liked the video, you know what to do. Go ahead, hit that like button and turn it blue like the underside of the hood on the Subaru. And if you're not already, subscribe to the channel, hit your boy up one of these corners, no idea which one, because we're not entirely done with the BRZ yet. I still have more modifications we're going to be doing to that. I should be getting the built EG33 back from Outfront Motorsports here in the next couple weeks for the STI, so we can actually start fitting that up in the engine bay. But with that, I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, homies.